Prize is known for today. So to honor his contributions in the healthcare industry, this award has been given out each year since his passing in 2013. In 2014, he was the first recipient of the award. His wife and his daughter accepted the award on his behalf. And since then, we've accepted nominations that reflect the industry and reflect his compassion, his innovation, and his excellence that he showed throughout his life. At this time, I'd like to recognize a couple of the past winners, and we have a few that are on stage with us today.
Not us.
Not
us.
Dr. Jim Taylor. Dr. John Broderick. And a couple that couldn't be here today, Dr. V and Michelle Lipoli. At this time, I'll turn it over to Nate to announce the 2019 finalists for the Martin Block Award and our winner.
Thank you, Sam. Let's go to the next slide if we could, please. These are the finalists for the 2019 award. Dr. Mark Dambro, who's the Senior VP of Medical Informatics for Signify Health. Carmen Hill Mikoba from Matrix Medical Networks. I apologize to Michaeli if I mispronounced that name, from Landmark Health. And Adele Towers from UPMC. This is the 5th year we've given this award. I should say, is the most meaningful one that I've had the chance to participate in, for reasons that I think will be clear shortly enough. So let's go to the next slide, please. The winner of the 2019 Martin Block Award is my good friend and colleague, Dr. Mark Dambro. So now I get to talk and embarrass Mark a little bit. Waited 5 years to do. Mark's been a close friend and colleague, a trusted partner in Signify's mission to improve the lives of the patients we serve in the home. Mark is the author of the protocols that we bring our patients through, led by the physicians. He developed the question set that we use to probe into the life of the senior with wisdom and compassion that came out of, I think, his years of practice and in treating patients. Mark was a great partner of mine in a period where we were interacting regularly with regulators and CMS, and I think helped educate our colleagues in CMS about the role that these programs have in improving the life of the seniors and connecting them back into communities. Mark walked I don't know if you remember this, Mark walked me and my wife through a health crisis of one of our children when we were new and nervous parents, and I got to see firsthand the bedside manner that I know he had in all his years of practice. So, Mark, would you please come to the stage, and we got a little lucite for you. Please join me in congratulating and thanking Mark Dambro.
Thank you so much. I'm sort of overwhelmed, really. I don't really know what to say, except that there are many memorable events in one's life: marriage, graduation, the birth of your first child, and events like this. It's particularly poignant for me to be honored by my peers and to be standing here today to accept this award. One of the things that occurs to me is that it is really a team effort. It is always a team effort. When I was in private practice, I couldn't be there by myself. I had my RN, the front office, all of these people who were helping me to deliver good medicine. And now I find myself with a group that is similarly spectacular. I particularly want to mention out Leslie Weir, who nominated me for this award. She's a delight to work with. She has all the knowledge in the world, easy to work with, just a wonderful player. And then Alan Dye, who I don't know if Alan's in the room or not, but he has put up with all these weird quirks of mine over the years. He's helped me to understand the business side somewhat of what we do, and I hope I've helped him to understand some of the clinical side of things. It has really been my honor to work through these things. If you'll allow me, I want to tell you, a lot of people ask me, how did I get into medicine? Why did I find it so interesting? And I will tell you that it began in 1871. My great-grandfather was born in that year in Ohio, and he later practiced in Missouri. By the time he was in practice, he was still hooking up the horse and buggy to make his rounds. Rounds at that time were done, in the home. That's where you saw people. A few people came to the office, I'm sure, but his rounds meant going places to see people. And my grandmother, who was born 26 years later, would tell me about the introduction of the light bulb into their home, the automobile, the television, radio, TV. All of those things had an impact on his practice style. He didn't like horses, so the story goes. And so the introduction of the automobile was the best thing that ever happened to his practice, interestingly enough. The telephone was probably number 2 because now he could call people and they could call him to get advice. So that it was very interesting. My grandmother, by the way, wanted to go to medical school, but at that time, in the early 1900s, women weren't welcome in medical school. Remember, the women only got the right to vote in 1920. So she later became a teacher, and at 10 years of age, and here's where the event comes that changed my life. I was visiting my great-grandfather in his home. He was being taken care of by my grandmother at that time. He was now quite elderly. And I was hunting around in the house, a 10-year-old, looking around for all sorts of stuff. And I found a black bag in the back of the closet. And in that bag was something I recognized, a stethoscope. That was interesting enough. But then I also recognized this mirror that had a hole in the center of it and had like a headband thing. And I had no idea what this was. In fact, I wouldn't even learn the name of this instrument until about 20 years later when I was on ENT rotation and learned that a head mirror was used to divert light so that you could examine somebody's ears, nose, and mouth appropriately. I still have that instrument that my grandmother gave me that day, and it set me on a career that I've always loved and continue to love. I've been so fortunate because I've been in private practice for almost 30 years, and of my 40 years, then the last 10 or so have been in risk adjustment, which I have also loved because I sort of now vicariously get to take care of people by tens of thousands of visits that are being done by our physicians and other clinicians in the home. It's a wonderful, it's a great time to be in medicine. I see us changing. I see the whole idea of home visits is getting a reawakening. I guess my great-grandfather would have said, and so what's the big deal? You're doing home visits? But for me, it's a big deal. I did home visits when I was in private practice, and I love seeing us being able to do that and bring services to those who might not otherwise be able to get health care. One little piece of history that I was just looking up last night. My great-grandfather was practicing before the invention of insulin, penicillin, all the modern drugs, of course. In his day, if someone was diagnosed with diabetes, and I hate to tell you how they diagnosed diabetes, you could ask me later about that. But it was virtually a death sentence. It wasn't until 1922 that insulin was first used. We forget the long tradition of medicine, steeped in observation of the patient, the seeing of somebody at the bedside, listening to their story, examining them, leads to diagnosis. Those diagnoses are key to their health, to their ultimate health. And I'm thrilled that I'm still able to be involved in that in a large scale. With that, I want to close and just say again, thank you so much for the team effort. Everyone from Nathan, Kyle, Melissa, the players who aren't here anymore, like Jack and Bales and Barry, people who are still here. It's just a long list of people who have helped me to deliver on the promise of good medicine. I don't know how to say this any better, but I am so humbled and so thankful for instilling this memory for me and the rest of my life. Thank you very much.